Microsoft is in talks with OpenAI to become its biggest shareholder. Reports came out this morning that Microsoft is bringing its big cash war chest into action in order to get a majority share into the ChatGPT company. It was already announced a couple of days ago that OpenAI was in talks for another investor round, valuing the company at around $29 billion. But it seems now that the biggest investor OpenAI will have to care for will be Microsoft. Microsoft is in talks to invest $10 billion into the owner of ChatGPT, the wildly popular app that thrilled casual users and artificial intelligence experts since its latest software was released last month. The new funding, which would also include other venture firms, would value OpenAI, the firm behind DALL-E, at $29 billion, including the new investment. As of now, it is not clear if the deal is already finalized because documents sent out to prospective investors in recent weeks outlines its terms indicated a target close by the end of 2022. The deal would also be less straightforward than other deals. Microsoft would get 75% of OpenAI's profit until it recoups its investment. But whether the investments OpenAI makes on Microsoft's cloud computing arm would count toward evening its account is unclear. After they recoup their investment, the deal would return to a structure that reflects ownership of OpenAI, with Microsoft taking a 49% stake, other investors also 49%, and the remaining 2% in the non-profit OpenAI parent company. Because of the profit cap that was introduced when creating the for-profit company OpenAI, the profit from the return on investment could only be maxed 100 times. If Microsoft would invest with the current valuation of $30 billion, it would mean it can only get a 20 to 30 times return on their money. This means that with a $30 billion market cap, they can only in total get a return of $600 to $900 billion. Only. If this deal goes through, it would cement Microsoft as an AI leader, give them access and possibly control over one of the most interesting and hyped up companies we encountered in the last years. It is very well possible that, as said in the news report, that if this deal already finalized by the end of 2022, that this is the reason why Microsoft has rumored to be working on a couple of integrations into their businesses. For example, on January the 4th, anonymous sources reported that Microsoft was planning on adding the ChatGPT chatbot to its Bing search platform. Microsoft would want to use ChatGPT to get better answers with its search engine. Microsoft would want to use ChatGPT to answer Bing search requests instead of showing us a list of links. This would be a major attempt to lure users away from Google's search engine that has a significant bigger market share than Bing. The feature is set to be released this quarter, but Microsoft is currently investigating how accurate ChatGPT is and how fast they can integrate this AI model into Bing. First release would be limited to a small test with a small number of users. A definitive release date is yet to be announced, and neither Microsoft or OpenAI have yet responded to these rumors. Then, on the 9th of January, news broke out that Microsoft could be working on integrating ChatGPT into Word, PowerPoint and Outlook. The software should help users who are using Outlook in answering emails and search requests. In PowerPoint, Microsoft would work with picture generator DALL-E, a program that's also part of OpenAI. Employees of Microsoft gave CEO Satya Nadella a demonstration of integrating these techniques into Microsoft software. It is, however, unknown if Microsoft will integrate these products in its offering, and if it will do so when it will be released in its Office software. The biggest concern Microsoft is having at the moment is the accuracy of the software. ChatGPT is a big language model and can't tell for itself if the information that it has stored is true or false. That is why the chatbot sometimes talks complete nonsense, but also pretending that this is the truth. Also, Microsoft will have some privacy issues to overcome, because the functionality depends on data of the users itself. Examples of what OpenAI software would add to the Microsoft products are: Outlook would write an email where you would just tell Outlook, "Let my coworkers know I'm sick." Then Outlook would send a well-written message informing all your colleagues that you are ill. In Word, ChatGPT could help you with words and sentences. You could just write some broad lines on a topic and then ChatGPT write it all in full, greatly increasing your productivity and workflow. In PowerPoint, would the DALL-E integration help out a lot to create visuals on topics you are presenting, making you never have to search the net anymore for that perfect picture that would really bring home a point you are trying to make. Also yesterday, Microsoft showed off their own AI model Vol-E, which again tells us that Microsoft is really serious about AI. Vol-E is a text-to-speech model that, according to the tech giant, can imitate personalized spoken sentences after hearing a 3-second sample. The AI can also mimic intonation and emotion. Vol-E uses the language model and is trained with 60,000 hours of English speak recordings. After learning from the 3-second voice recording, the tool can produce audio clips with the voice from the input from written text. However, the software is so far sometimes a hit or miss. Sometimes really giving very convincing performances, but sometimes clearly giving a robot-like impression. However, once again, Microsoft is on the forefront of AI development. As you can see, Microsoft is already really thinking of where it can put AI and OpenAI services to use. And I think this alone will make it for Microsoft a no-brainer to invest even more into the company to take control. For Microsoft, there is not much to lose in the deal. If the company starts to turn a profit, it will get 75% of its earnings until they have their money back. In the end, they will get 49% of the company. And with the seemingly endless possible ways in which the OpenAI products can elevate Microsoft products to new and exciting highs, I see no reason why they would not pursue this agreement. I think Microsoft really sees AI as its next big thing, creating new opportunities to even rival with their competitors in ways that didn't seem possible a few years ago. If ChatGPT gets integrated into Bing, it for the first time will give them a chance on taking on Microsoft. Seeing how people are now already hooked to the functionality ChatGPT offers and the way people keep coming back for more, Google or Alphabet will be sweating and hoping that they won't go the way of Alta Vista and be a distant memory in a couple of years. However, it's not like they are standing still waiting for Microsoft to come and take their cake, but more on that in this video.